right, and welcome back to day 2 at ICCC here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And we are Hyperspace Heroes on the podcast stage. And we have the joy of having Mr. William Catt join us on the stage today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Right on.
For having me.
So William has just a long career in TV and best known for Greatest American Hero in our hearts. And I know we're going to get to that. But we wanted to kind of start with just how did you get in? We've been having a House on rerun up in the hotel room this whole weekend, so we're going to be talking about that a little bit.
Excited about that.
But just how did you start your career in acting?
How did I start? Well, I grew up with my mom and my dad, Bill Williams and Barbara Hale. They were both actors, so I was kind of thrown into the deep end with that. I grew up with entertainment surrounding me from the time I was a young kid. I don't know. I did a couple things as a child actor on the Perry Masons that my mom was doing, and I remember going to set with my dad on Kit Carson, and my earliest memory is looking out from underneath a horse and watching them shoot. And I famously got to do it. I was about 12 years old. I got to do a scene with Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
I think it was
very cool.
I think it was Rawhide I was doing.
Oh, wow.
But then I really didn't pursue acting until much later when I was in college. I chased a girl. I was going to Orange Coast College, and I chased a girl across the schoolyard into the auditorium where an acting class was taking place.
Okay.
You know, I never got lucky with the girl, by the way. But the acting professor at the time was a guy named Jack Holland, who was friends with my family. And we hit it off, and he let me make up 10 weeks of work and join the advanced acting class.
Okay.
And that kind of wet my whistle for it. I went and started working at South Coast Repertory doing the light and soundboard behind the stage.
Oh, very cool.
South Coast Repertory became a very, very famous LORT theater company, a repertory theater company, won several Tony Awards. And I did a number of shows with them. The first one being the Joseph Heller play. I forget the name of the play, forgive me, it's going back a long way.
Good.
We Bombed in New Haven, that's what it was called. And I did Mother Earth, and I did Tommy early on, one of the early productions of Tommy. I played one of the cast. Did a lot of theater in my life, even as I grew and did more and more stuff professionally as an actor in television and film. I was always doing theater, and I would consider myself one of those young gypsies, you know.
Okay.
And I still, last time I did some theater was, I worked with Randy Newman up at ACT. We did a wonderful production with him, Randy Newman, The Education of Randy Newman. I did a couple things at, I've worked at a lot of the theaters in Los Angeles. I worked at Cleveland Rep. I did the premiere of, oh God, I'm getting sponge brain. The Days of Wine and Roses with the lovely Maya Dillon. Her and I did the world premiere of that. Of course, I did Pippin with Bob Fosse early on in my career. One of the funny story there is I had auditioned for that show with Stu Ostrow, the producer. When John Rubinstein got the original production, I was very close to getting it, and then Michael Rupert did the second one, and then they brought me out again, and I think I auditioned for Pippin 4 or 5 different times and got very close. And then after the first season of Greatest American Hero, I finally had some gravitas, right? Mm-hmm. And I walked into the hotel that Mr. Fosse was conducting auditions. And I walked up to him and the piano there, and I said, Mr. Fosse, do I have to audition again? And he said, nah, kid, you got the part. And that was a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So stage is kind of, would you say stage is kind of like your comfort food, your kind of like your comfort zone where you kind of go back to?
I don't work very often in the film industry anymore, but I do miss the theater.
Yeah.
I miss the theater.
Was it that whole, kind of the energy of the instant feedback from the crowd, or the feel, and or more than TV than?
I love the theater, and I love breaking the fourth wall.
Okay.
I mean, I love getting right down in the audience's face and trying to get a reaction from somebody.
Very cool.
One time I was doing, as the beginning of a tour with George Rose, we were in Washington, D.C., huge, like 3,000 or 4,000 seats, and my oldest son was there at the time. He was like 4 years old or something. And I remember as the Pirate King, I was there in the front row, and I picked him up, I put him on my knee during the production. And that was a lot of fun. That's a great memory.
That's cool. That's very cool. So then, so you started with theater, and then you kind of transitioned to the TV, or was it TV or film first?
It was both.
Both, just kind of at the same time.
One of my early professional gigs was working with David Jansen and Yaphet Kotto. I had a small role, but pivotal role in a TV movie called Night Chase.
Okay.
Now, Yaphet Kotto, wow, he kept me on my toes, because you never know what's going to come out that guy's mouth. What a wonderful actor.
Right on.
He was pretty amazing.
He was. Everybody knows him from Alien. He was one of the great actors in Alien.
He was also in the James Bond movie.
That's right. That's right. I forgot.
I have a question about, you grew up with famous parents.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever discourage you from pursuing a career in acting?
No, my dad wanted me to get an education, and my mom was like, do what makes you happy.
Oh, that's great. You hear so many stories.
Yeah.
Don't go into it. It's so cutthroat.
Yeah.
And I want to ask, John, did you have something you wanted?
Oh, yeah. So one of the lesser known facts that people probably don't know is that you were on the shorter list to play Luke Skywalker in A New Hope.
Yeah.
You did a test screen with along Kurt Russell. Besides better, how do you feel that role would have been?
Kurt Russell blew it for me.
That's what we wanted to hear.
And I feel bad about his career, you know.
Right. Yeah.
It's so bad.
He's had it
He's
tough.
had a tough time.
Well, I understand that it was kind of a dual audition with Lucas and De Palma, and you ended up in Carrie because of that?
Right. I think they were seeing, the casting director set it up, and they were seeing all the young leads and ingenues and whatnot at the time, you know. So anyone who is up and coming as a young actor or a young actress, they were seen by those two directors. I didn't get to play Luke Skywalker, but I did get Tommy Ross, so it was I don't know if you could call it a booby prize, because it did really launch a career for me, and Sissy was already on her way, and John Travolta, of course.
I forgot Travolta's in
Yeah,
there.
John was great. But PJ Souls and Nancy Allen, who then went on to marry Brian De Palma. Well, we all had careers as a result of that.
Yeah, that movie really was a springboard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Take us through Carrie a little bit in terms of what are some memories of.
Take you where?
Not the prom.
I'm not taking you.
No, through what was the production like in the film?
We didn't. Speaking for myself, I didn't know what it was. Brian had a little bit of a reputation. He had worked with De Niro and Smothers Brothers, Hi Mom, and Get to Know Your Rabbit, and a few of Sisters he did, a few other things, but he hadn't really made that mark yet in the industry. And happily, Carrie became a seminal film for Brian De Palma, and really catapulted him into the stratosphere as a director. I loved working with him. He was great. Rehearsals were, he had an apartment on Fountain in Hollywood, West Hollywood. And his whole apartment, he had 3x5 cards. And his whole apartment had instead of just a shot list that was shot pictures, he had storyboarded everything.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it was fantastic. And I worked with Amy Irving and Sissy Spacek, and that was, in those days, there was just a little reel-to-reel tape recorder. And he would tape our improvs that we were doing when we would go through the script. And he would make changes accordingly to good ideas or bad ideas. And that's the way we worked before we started shooting. He didn't really direct the actors very much on stage. Once we got to the set, he was all about the composition and the look of the film and where we were standing and talking about pacing and whatnot. He was really, really concerned with that.
That's interesting. So were the characters well-defined to start with, or was that part of that exploratory process
That was
that you guys did?
Well, like, I think you learn a lesson from Hitchcock, who said that casting is 80% of the film. Mm-hmm. You know, so if you cast it right,
Right.
you really don't have to do much. You know,
That's very
Well,
cool.
based on the names you've rattled off, everybody was, wow.
Yeah.
Just so many people.
The right cast for
had
the right
great
time.
careers.
yeah, Betty Buckley went on to win Tony Awards on Broadway for Cats. You know, there was a lot of really, really good actors. My God, I feel sorry for Sissy Spacek and John Travolta. They've had terrible careers.
Right.
haven't they?
Yeah, they've had it rough, for sure.
Ah, geez.
Very rough.
Absolutely.
I'll have to send them some cards.
Yeah,
Sympathy cards.
Sympathy cards.
absolutely, absolutely. Get on that as soon as we get done here. So one of my favorite 80s horror movies was House.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that movie. So just, if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about that experience, and my biggest question I have is, do you still have that deep V-neck sweater? I love that sweater.
That looked sexy, didn't it?
Yes, it
Yes,
did.
you did.
Yeah, that's right. I've had so many comments about that.
I'm not the only one.
No, I have a lot of fans out there that love that. It was a lot of fun, you know, at the time. That was like that was after Greatest American Hero.
Yes.
We did that. And it was after the film I did with John Young, Baby's Secret of the Lost Legend. So it was after those two projects. It was one of the funniest scripts I'd ever read. And then I met Steve Miner, who directed it. And I was in lock sync with him. He's just left of center and hysterically funny. And a lot of the humor in that film was because of who he is as a director and a person. He's just lovely.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. What was your most challenging role?
Being myself probably is my most challenging role.
Well, you bring up Baby,
Yeah.
and I just heard you tell a fantastic story about the
Oh.
filming of that.
Yeah.
Because it was filmed in the Ivory Coast. Pretty remote.
Very remote. Yeah. I think that we were probably one of the first production companies that went in there. It was a big production company. The cast and crew was all French and English.
Okay.
So they didn't bring many people over from America. Sean and I and a couple other people. Yeah, it was remote. I mean, we were there for 4 months. 2 of the people had malaria, came down with malaria, had to be shipped back to London. There was venomous snakes everywhere. You know, we had a cobra shot on the set at lunchtime, was crawling around at the lunch tables. Sean and I had adventures with green mambas. Bill Norton would set up a camera and he'd say, "Run that way," right? And we'll stand here and we'll shoot you running away. And I'd say, "You run that way." The grass was like 4 feet high, triple canopy forest, and the bugs were like this big, you know, and there were snakes everywhere. It was nerve-wracking. I think I lost some of my hair during that time.
Yeah, it's,
We had a great scene where I had to lay down. They brought in like 3 truckloads of sand to make a beach around this lake. And they laid wire down in this lake, a shallow lake. The moss was like 6 inches thick, and the little baby's head comes up out of the water to surprise me. It's one of the first reveals in the film. And so I had to go in there and be laying on my back and kind of taking it easy. But what you don't see is off camera. There's a guy with a rifle 4 feet over my head because the lake was filled with alligators. And you could see their eyes. And I told the director, I said, Bill, I'm not getting in the frickin' water, man. I said, you get in the water. So to accommodate me, he got in the water a little bit further out into the deeper part of the water. So if we were someone was going to get attacked, it was going to be him.
he's first. Okay,
Right?
excellent.
Bill was I'm just remembering one day, they brought Bill Norton out on a stretcher. Some weeks later, on a stretcher. And I said, Bill, what's wrong? What's wrong? And they put him up like this. He was going to direct the camera. He said, put the camera there, the lights over there, and this. I said, Bill, what's wrong? And he said, I have green worms in my stool. Oh, God. Oh, my God, little green worms.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, it was quite an adventure, I'll tell you what.
Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, my.
Yeah, that officially disturbed me in so many ways.
And this was a Disney film?
Well, it was a Touchstone film.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it did very well. I think it was a fish out of water. It wasn't quite suitable for kids, and it wasn't quite rated R enough for adults. You know, it was kind of in between. I don't think it ever landed. But, boy, it was a great experience doing it. Being in Africa for 4 months. I couldn't wait to get back to New York.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
got to
can
fly the
imagine.
Concorde on the way back, I think I mentioned a few minutes ago.
Oh, that's very cool.
And that was cool. One of the last years that the Concorde was flying.
Yeah. I come from an aviation background, so I appreciate that. Okay, so let's get to obviously the biggest piece, which is Greatest American Hero.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
that.
and how did that role come to be?
I was doing a play in New York off Broadway with Diana Wiest, what everybody knows from Edward Scissorhands and so many other wonderful things that she has done. We were playing brother and sister in a Michel Tremblay play called Bonjour la Bonjour. I dyed my hair black, dark, and we were playing an incestuous brother and sister in and amongst this family. Everybody knew what was going on in the family, but no one was talking, right? And that was the play. It was a 90-minute play with no intermission. And Stephen, I got the script because I hadn't been working in a while. And I got the script. I thought it was incredibly funny, laugh out loud funny. I wasn't convinced that I wanted to do it. But my agent at the time, Michael Black at CAA, no, I forget what agency it was. Anyway, Michael Black was the agent. And he set it up, and Steve flew out to New York. He saw a matinee, and he took me out to an early dinner at the Russian tea room. And he he won me over. He was like the most charismatic, charming, lovely, funny man I had ever met. And at the time, I mean, he had a wonderful reputation. He had done some wonderful shows.
Yeah.
Rockford Files, 10 Speed and Black Shoe, and Black Sheep Squadron. And I think at the time, he was, by the time he passed, some years after the After Hero, he had like 43 TV series.
Yeah.
Other than Aaron Spelling, I think he was the most successful independent producer in television history.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what you don't know is that he was just a wonderful, wonderful man. And he convinced me that the show was not only going to be funny, but it was also going to have a lot of humanity in it. And the show had a lot of heart and humanity. And although it was written as a comedy and a kind of a parody, Bob Culp, with his help, we played it for real, right? And that was the secret. We played all the comedy for real. And when it called for it, in the more, the deeper parts of the shooting, we didn't lean into the comedy. We leaned into the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been doing, since we knew we were going to come down and get a chance to meet you, we've been doing a rewatch, and it just reminded me of, the complexity, right, of the characters right from the get-go, for a show in the early 80s, and like you said, kind of geared as a comedy. You've got a single divorced dad, trying to make his way, and all of a sudden falls into this adventure, with the suit and everything, and for the time, I think was a real good piece of storytelling.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. It was wonderful to do. It was complex, but I don't know, we just seemed to fall into those roles. And when Connie Selica, who was also wonderful, and Bob Culp and I got together, I mean, even off screen, that was that dynamic. It was kind of lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there was chemistry between the three of you, and just to reiterate, what I found rewatching it was a notch above everything else in its time as far as character depth went. The fact that you played it straight, and the troubled kids, you could see character development throughout. Just
Faye Grant and Michael Pare and all of the kids, they were just wonderful. And what I liked about the show, and Steve leaned into it too, was that Ralph loved his students more than putting on that suit.
yes,
and it became a real dilemma for him.
although I really enjoyed the comedy that you could never get out of your regular clothes and into the suit fast enough. That always cracks me up.
Yeah, it's funny because Warner Brothers at the time, and why there was not more marketing with that, was that Warner Brothers sued Cannell for copyright infringement because of that. At the time, they thought they owned all the superheroes, right? And so they sued Cannell. That's why we never changed clothes in the phone booth. We couldn't do the 3 steps and thing. We did it once. And I think, but ultimately Warner Brothers lost in court because, it wasn't true, the 3 steps in the run. I mean, Superman in the movie from a standing position would take off. So ultimately there was enough of a divide there that Warner Brothers lost in court.
I always like to ask about how the characters are developed, kind of like, how I asked on the last one. And same with this show. How did, were the duo or the trio, were they well defined in the get-go, or did you guys kind of?
Connie Selica was not a series regular at the beginning.
Okay.
But after the first, and Steve told me this, after the first week of the show, the chemistry was so good that Juanita Bartlett, who was one of the producers, and Alex Beaton, and they all got together and they said, we're going to make her a series deal. And they called her agents, and then she was on the series.
Oh, that's very cool.
Good call.
Yeah, good, very good call.
So, but she hasn't thanked me yet. I have to write her, and I'll text her after this. I'll say, Connie, you should thank me.
You've got some notes and stuff to write after that.
Oh, I knew, right? Sympathy cards.
Sympathy cards and notes and what the heck, yeah.
Yes.
So I noticed that in the Greatest American Hero, a lot of those episodes are, one story, and then, they're done, and they move on to, the next episode's a whole story, and versus how TV films or TV shows are today, where the whole season is more of a story arc. How has that changed, and how do you feel about that change? How is it more difficult to do it one way or the other?
Oh, I wouldn't know. I haven't really had a series in many years, so I wasn't lucky enough to have that resurgence in the last 10 or 15 years.
But from the way you guys filmed the show, how was it like having like a different storyline every week in terms of like the episode of the week kind of thing?
We finished the show after 7 days. We'd get a new script. We'd get a new script on a Wednesday evening, and we'd start shooting a new script on a Thursday. Or wherever that 7th day fell on, so I don't know. It was a lot of work. I mean, there was a lot of lines to memorize. I was always the day of shooting, I would be memorizing the next day's work. You know, I had an assistant who would run lines with me. Pretty much we all did. Bob Culp taught me how to have a tape recorder so I could run the lines with myself on driving to work and whatnot. That's the way I would learn my lines too.
That's impressive coming, especially for me, because I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Let alone somebody told me yesterday.
I won't remember this in 10 minutes.
That's fine.
We're forgettable.
Yeah, we are. Absolutely, without a doubt.
So, was there physicality, or did you have stuntmen doing all the?
Well, Dennis Madelone was my stunt double, who looks nothing like me. You know, he's a kid from New Jersey with long black hair. But it worked. No one ever got hurt on that show. No one ever got hurt.
Oh, good.
That's,
And we did some hairy stunts, you know.
I'm thinking long black hair, and you had this glorious
Well, he had a-
golden mane.
Yeah, he had a wig.
Right.
So,
So you kind of mentioned, Robert taught you something with the microphone. What were some of the other, so it sounded kind of like, there was like a little bit of mentorship there in terms of,
Well,
helping
yeah,
you
well,
with your skill set.
Robert always thought of himself as a writer first. You know, he did Track Down, and he was writing on that, and I think he did some rewriting on Bob Carroll, Ted and Alice when he did that wonderful film.
But did you have,
I Spy, he was always doing that. A lot of people don't realize when Cosby won his first Emmy for I Spy, that was for a script that Bob Culp had written.
oh, really? I didn't know.
Oh, that's very cool. What I was kind of working towards was, did you have other actors or actresses that you worked with in your life where, especially in early career, where they were, kind of, whether directly or indirectly, kind of became mentors in terms of like teaching you things?
Well, I think as a young person, you inadvertently, you pick up when you work with people that are better than you, more experienced, that have more wisdom than you. You kind of soak that in through osmosis. You know, you play tennis, you always want to play with someone who's better than you.
Right.
Everybody's better than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hard. Irrelevant. Sorry. And I'm digging the shirt out here in the second row. Well, yours is good too, Tim, but
Yeah.
But look at that. He's got the shirt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You guys, our audience, you'll all get paid right afterwards. Okay. Just know it's coming.
so later on, you got to do some work on some Perry Mason films,
I did.
where you got to work with your mom.
Got to work with them.
And so, what was that experience? And I think you mentioned like you kind of grew up on that set,
Well,
the earlier show. I mean,
yeah, I grew up on the early Masons, and of course with my dad. I remember being when he was shooting Kit Carson. I was on that set. He did a series called Assignment Underwater. He did a series with Betty White, Date with the Angels.
Oh, wow.
So I was around all of that, and I think I fell in love with the people. So it seemed natural to move into that part of my life. I love the theater, and I fell in love with working with all that. Everybody became family. Love working with my mom. She did 2 episodes of Greatest American Hero. She was my
that's
mom in Big Wednesday that I did with Jan Michael Vincent, Gary Busey, John Milius directed. She went in for the audition to play my mom, and met with John, and she said, "Well, John, you can't say I'm not right for the part." He was not. I miss her so much.
well, it's been a pleasure having you on the stage with
I've
us
enjoyed
today.
it. Thank you
We
so
really
much.
appreciate getting to spend some time with you. As some parting words, so for people that are kind of starting off in the industry now, what would you recommend? What are some,
Well, don't take no for an answer.
right?
You have to have a thick skin. You're going to get rejected a lot. The thing is, when you're an actor, it's either you're too tall, why you don't get a part, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too heavy, you're too young, you're too old. That's what you get all the time, And just don't take no for an answer. Start in community theater if you want. Do some TikToks. People are getting famous for doing
They are.
TikToks nowadays.
They are, absolutely.
So,
All right. Well, Wayne, it's been a joy to have you here.
do I
Thank
get
you.
paid now or afterwards?
That's after we stop the
After.
show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You'll get paid. All right, so we are still in day 2 at ICCC here in Murfreesboro at the Embassy Suite. So William is still here doing autographs, pictures. So come on down, come see him and all the guests that we have, the vendors that we have here as part of ICCC 2026. Day 2, we still have the rest of today and all day tomorrow. So come on down, and thank you for joining us.